News at 6. Pulaski Salon reopens its doors just down the street after the original location was destroyed by a major fire back in September.
A Kut Above appropriately cut the ribbon today on Pulaski Street, as first announced by the Village Chamber of Commerce. As we previously reported, the salon, one of two businesses devastated by a blaze sparked by a tree branch hitting a power line. Salon owner Dawn Sinavi says she and her two employees worked at another local salon until they could secure this new location.
My vision was to make it bougie in Pulaski. You know, I wanted to bring bougie back, and I wanted it to be beautiful. I wanted it to make people feel welcome and comfortable.
At the grand reopening today, the store filled with clients and loved ones, many excited about the new look and the future of this location. The salon is back up and running, and it's ready to take appointments.